Apologies for using my phone. I've had a minor tech malfunction backstage, so I'm not reading texts, although there are some people planted in the audience, so if any of you fall asleep, I will get an immediate message. Okay, so I prepared quite a lot of content. We've only got 20 minutes, I'm going to crack straight on. As was mentioned, I'm Will Corby. I've been working in specialty coffee for the past 16 years, a very long time, and my job is to build relationships with farmers around the world. In Colombia, we work with 50 plus individual farmers, but also to build relationships with coffee consumers in the UK. And we have a fairly unique situation at Pact where we have exceptionally direct relationships with the people that consume the coffee that we sell. We're a subscription coffee model, and that means every week we ship out 20,000 packets of 250-gram bags of coffee to individual coffee drinkers, and they give us feedback in a multitude of different ways. But we have teams of data scientists who are able to analyze the various different ways in which we can receive that feedback, whether that be churn, so somebody leaving our subscription plan, whether that be people drinking slightly more coffee, a higher frequency, a lower frequency, or whether that be directly feeding back through our website, telling us they like or dislike coffee, which further down the line impacts that we ship it to them. But building those relationships, and that's not something new. As was mentioned, I've been trading coffee around the world for the past 13 years. And even whilst doing that Monday to Friday role, I'd spend my weekends working on my market stall in Cardiff, having interactions with people who were beginning to start drinking specialty coffee and trying to get an idea for what it was, what it was about the process of drinking specialty coffee that really got them into enjoying it. So as I said, Pact's a subscription coffee business. Our goal is to convert consumers from drinking commodity coffee to specifically drinking micro-lot specialty coffees from single estate or single farmer lots of specialty grade. So everything we do in coffee is specialty. We only purchase coffees that score 84 points plus on the SCA scale, and we grade every green coffee that we purchase to SCA specialty standard. So again, we're in a fairly unique situation in the business. The majority of the coffee that we sell is sold directly to end consumers. That means that the coffee we sell is primarily brewed coffee, be that with a French press, an AeroPress, a V60. We are the world's largest distributor of V60s, shipping between 40 and 80,000 V60s a year to our customers. And that is all through this subscription system. Now, one of the key aspects of that subscription system, as I said, is to ship coffee and receive feedback. Now, we've developed the system to have an element of artificial learning. What that means is every time someone is shipped a cup of coffee, they will react to that coffee by clicking through to their account page and liking or disliking it. And that piece of data attaches to their account, and as the website is selecting their next coffee for shipment, it will look back at every order they've received previously. Based on my cupping notes, it will then order every single coffee within our offer list, which is generally around 16 to 18 coffees, and select the coffee that is most likely to that they are most likely to enjoy. Now, tested internally with colleagues, this system has worked out 100% success rate. On a larger scale, we're still receiving data back on it. We see enormous data, but as a subscription company, rather than being an individual coffee sales company, we have to look at our marketing costs and our revenue in a slightly different way to the way you might be used to looking at it within the rest of the business. So for us, looking at our marketing costs and how much it costs to go and find a customer, we're looking at an overall value which can sometimes engulf not just the profit, but the entire revenue on the first sale we might make to that customer. But because of this insight we're able to develop in terms of what customers enjoy in terms of taste and flavor, and because of our commitment to ensuring they receive a coffee they're going to enjoy every time they receive a bag of coffee, we're able to ensure that those coffees move on from that first individual sale into their second, third, and fourth bags. Now, this is based around a huge number of different elements, but the key point, and I would say in terms of influence over the coffee that consumers are going to buy, is the trust that we develop in our business. We haven't sold coffee to 1 million people, and we don't have 50,000 subscribers buying coffee from us on a weekly, 2-weekly basis without this core foundation to what we do, and that is trust. If someone receives a bag of coffee they don't like, we replace it free of charge or we refund it. We want to make sure that the experience that every customer has is absolutely fantastic every single time. Now, although I've called this this presentation what influences consumers' coffee purchasing decisions, I think it's really important that we begin by questioning what influences buyers' coffee purchasing decisions. Now, when I say buyers, I'm referring to everybody in the middle of this enormous supply chain that we talk about regularly. They can be exporters, they can be roasters, they can be importers, they can be farmers, they can be competitors at various coffee competitions. What is it about coffee that causes them to make decisions? Because when we begin to look at the industry, coffee consumers can only make decisions based on the information that's put in front of them. That information is distilled from the information that is shared by the various people in the middleman of the supply chain. We already know that farmers have very little connection to the end consumer, but what we know is this kind of interaction that's happening in the middle generates a lot of fashionable trends, it generates a lot of talking points, and various media agencies will go away from this event and they will publish information and data that will begin to complete the lens through which consumers begin to review the specialty coffee world, and we will begin to form opinions based on data that has been discussed at these kind of events. Now, if we look at the reasoning, potentially, and as I said, I worked in the middle, I've kind of worked at the end as an importer, and I've had lots of interactions with exporters across 10 different origin countries. And I can tell you that from personal experience that variety on a cupping table, as an intermediary wanting to taste more different coffee personally, begins to impact. You begin to look at sales marketing opportunities. How do we look different as a green coffee sales company to everybody else in the market? And these various aspects begin impacting what frame can be put on a coffee for an end user. So I think at any given point, we have to look. If we want to know what consumers are going to be looking at, we need to be looking at what internally what we're looking at and why we're making those decisions. Now, those decisions create market trends, and they can be made for conscious or unconscious bias from the intermediaries. But I think to ensure that we get the right messaging out to end consumers, we all have to be quite aware of why we're doing what we're doing in the middle. It can get quite frustrating. Maybe you've tasted 3 tables of coffee every day for the past week, and those profiles haven't jumped out at you personally, and you're not having such an enjoyable week cupping coffee this week. But you know what? That's probably what most of the market is. And actually, that's what most of the market is used to. And if we begin to change what we're doing in the middle, simply to entertain ourselves, we will begin to engage with products that are not as interesting, as not engaging for the end consumer. So in terms of being a buyer, an intermediary, a middle person, it's really important that we put our bias to one side and that we begin to look at what is actually going to be the best choice to sell to the end consumer. What are we going to put on our shop window for them? Next, we have ethics and sustainability, which is a really interesting topic at present because we are at an intersection in terms of the ethics and sustainability of all products globally. There is an expectation, whatever you're selling, that you are putting a very large element into ethics and sustainability, element of your budget into ethics and sustainability. Now, I think at this point, consumers don't really understand how to track ethics and sustainability. I think we live in a world where if you look at any coffee roaster's Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, they're going to be telling you they're doing something that is positive, ethically, and sustainably. But we are reaching a point, an intersection, where this is going to be more trackable than it ever has. Building up ethics and sustainability as part of your brand is a really big challenge. We've gone through a phase over the past 5 to 10 years where potentially it's been significantly easier than it ever has been before. It's been easier to make statements and to make commitments which you're not necessarily tracked against than ever in history. And we're about to come to a point where certification changes. We're beginning to see this with things like B Corp, where every element of your sustainability and ethical journey is tracked down to the finest pinpoint, and this is only going to continue. And one of the key points about ethics is it can take a while to build up, but as soon as your ethics is questioned, especially in public, you can lose an enormous part of the trust. Going back to what I was saying in the first slide, if you begin to lose that trust, you don't just lose your trust in the ethics, people begin to lose the trust in you as a business to be able to be continuing to deliver the product that they want in their cup. I do fear that a lot of the industry is going to be tainted with the brush of greenwashing over the next few years without pushing forward and continuing to develop ethics. But it's a challenge. We need to work out how to do it. The key aspect being that ethics has to be a part of your brand. So a consumer coming to buy a bag of coffee for you is not necessarily going to look at that bag of coffee to find out what your ethics are. The expectation from the public right now is that ethics are a core part of your brand. They want to be able to see that at a glance. They want to be able to judge you on that. And then they want to be able to assume that every product that they buy from you is ethically sound. If you ruin that image at any given point, that taints every product you have on the market and will damage your relationship and will create a barrier to purchase for any prospective customers. So next we have rarity. It's an interesting one. I wanted to call this rarity and consistency, but I feel like rarity is one of the marketing tools that's used most widely in the coffee industry. We love even creating rarity with scarcity. And if we look back over the years at what coffee's done, we can all remember when Peabury was the rare product. We can remember when Pacamara was the rare product, and obviously more recently, coffees like Geisha become the rare product that we're all trying to get hold of, and which begins to derive an exceptionally high price point. It's a very easy marketing tool to use, but actually, inversely, in interactions with customers and when I was looking at this slide, I actually decided to go away and speak to Laurie Reese, who is our head of customer relationship management, and talk about rarity, because we have a very interesting relationship in the company. I go and buy all the coffee and do all the fun jobs, and then we work together to work out how to show this coffee to customers. And we know between us that actually the majority of our customers aren't after rarity. We ship 20,000 bags of coffee a week, and most of those bags go on the lines of coffee that we sell that have the most consistency. So every week when we have our catch-up and we talk about what we're going to sell next month as our limited edition coffee, which is going to be 1,000 units, the first thing that comes out of Laurie's mouth is it needs to be a rare coffee. It needs to be something from within the industry that consumers are used to being communicated as a rare product. But that is going to make up 5% of our sales for 1 week of the month. It's going to make up 1.25% of our sales for the month in total. Rarity, actually, we talk about it, we laud it, we innovate towards it. We often claim that it's a way to make farmers better off. But actually, in terms of the marketplace, in terms of what customers want, it's very clear to me from looking at our internal data, consistency is what they want. If you want to go out and sell one lot of coffee very quickly, rarity can be a great marketing tool. But if you want to achieve a product that's going to sell consistently at volume, an element of consistency within that product is significantly more valuable. And one other thing on rarity, and it might be a controversial topic, but what happens when a consumer finds out that the rare coffee that you've bought is actually costing farmers more to produce, and it's potentially less profitable for them to produce than the other coffee you're buying from them? All of a sudden, that begins to taint the ethical message we've just talked about. And that flash that shows a lack of ethics in that point damages the rest of your relationship. So it's really key, as we're feeding through these, you have to keep jumping back. Every time I wrote a slide, I was like, oh, if we do that, we're gonna, yep. All of these points are connected. We create a strong foundation, we start piling the bricks up. But if you lay one brick in slightly the wrong direction, you're gonna create a wonky wall and eventually it's gonna fall over. Next, we move on to coffee quality. And this is a really interesting one for me. I look at coffee quality, and I've been judging specialty coffee competitions. Jeff over there and I judged, I think it was the Guatemala Cup of Excellence back in 2013. I've been judging quality coffee competitions for the last decade. I'm very used to scoring a coffee out of 100. But one of the things I said the day that I started at Pact was, this is not a way to communicate what a coffee is going to taste like, or whether a customer should buy a cup of coffee. You know, you go out and you put a 90-point sticker on a bag of coffee. What is the chance of a customer liking that? Well, given that the majority of scores over 86 or 87 points are also very tightly grouped around the cupping notes, which you'll see around the very top of that cupping diagram on the picture. So floral notes, berry notes. I can tell you that the majority of customers at a specialty coffee company that's been working for the last 10 years are not going to want to even buy that coffee, let alone buy it multiple times. Now, if we publish a 90-point sticker and put it on that coffee, they'll purchase it straight away. But jumping back to the first slide, they're going to buy that. They're going to have a bad experience. Luckily, we have a guarantee to give them a different bag of coffee or to give them a refund. But that's still not a great customer experience. So when we talk about quality, the key is looking at what builds the quality of a cup of coffee, looking at the entire cupping sheet of a cupping score. You know, how are we buying coffees to ensure that we give people, I would rather send someone an 87-point coffee and not even write 87 points on the bag, just tell them it tastes like Cadbury's Dairy Milk or one other chocolate bar that you can find. Because moving on to the next slide, we're going to find that's very important. Apologies that this slide is messy. I've literally copied it from an internal training slide that I present to our entire company every 6 months approximately. When I started at Pact, as I've just alluded to, copying scores went out the window. Yes, we wanted to guarantee we were going to be buying coffee 84 points plus. We were going to be guaranteeing that we delivered customers quality. But, I'd looked at the wine model. I'd seen what happens when you give bottles of wine a score of 96 points, and you have one person cupping that. Even if they're a Q grader, the bias comes in. People end up getting shipped coffee they don't enjoy, and we don't begin to build that rapport, that relationship, that bond of trust that we need to have people come back and influence them wanting to purchase from us again and again. So, apologies, my phone keeps powering down. So we created this matrix. Now this matrix runs through our entire company, through every product set that we release, be it espresso, be it brewed coffee, be it any price point of coffee within the business, be it Nespresso pods. And what this was the basis of saying, okay, I've worked in coffee for 10 years. I know that I can come to Colombia and I can buy from any one of 500,000 different coffee farmers, and I can't guarantee that that coffee is going to fall in fruity floral or dark chocolate. So why would I expect a customer base to start trying to learn what coffee tastes like from Colombia when I can tell you that I can buy coffee from Manuel at El Tolo and it's going to be fruity floral, or I can buy it from Buenos Aires, from Jose Ramon, and it's going to taste like chocolate and fruit. Why would I expect customers to start working like that? The wine industry has a system of doing that is trying to rapidly unravel because it doesn't make any sense. So we created this matrix, and this matrix is about taking every coffee that we have at any given moment and making it easy to communicate to a coffee customer, to a coffee drinking customer, what their expectations from a cup of coffee should be. We want to make it really easy for them to find a coffee they're going to love time and time again, while still managing to communicate traceability and transparency from the single estate coffees that we ship from 10 countries around the world into the UK every year. And this enables us to fulfill one of the really core parts of what we did at Pact that has created success, that has influenced tens of thousands, over 1 million people to work with us, to purchase coffee from us over the last decade. And that is to be able to deliver variety, deliver coffees that taste subtly different, whilst managing to deliver consistency every single order. A customer can receive a bag of Plan Alto in Brazil one week and have notes of malt milk chocolate shake, and they can receive a bag from Zarocca the following week and receive a 90% dark chocolate note. Now, they're still within that same chocolate category, and where I've got titles at the top there, I appreciate they are flavor titles, but I think if you take a quick glance through, you'll see that each of these categories is built up of intensities of acidity, intensities of sweetness, intensities of mouthfeel that create a category which should deliver consistency to everybody and enable us to deliver really consistent tasting lots of coffee with enormous amounts of variety from a country like Colombia, a country with an enormous variety. Now, I kind of felt in doing this presentation that I should come to you with one amazing coffee that's going to solve all these problems. So I made this kind of Frankenstein Griffin coffee out of lots of different bits. So I took the process and the variety, which I feel are some of the most recognized by those people, by the larger portion of consumers getting into specialty coffee yet. So we're going to take a honey processed geisha. We're going to sell we're going to sell a volume of that coffee. It's going to be approximately 5% of what we'd normally sell in a week, because that's going to give us that rarity that we need to be able to push to people. It's going to sell out pretty quick. It's probably going to, if we're going to sell it somewhere, it's probably going to stick around for maybe a day. It's going to sell out pretty quick. It's going to be pretty traceable, but we know that traceability aspect is already going to be assumed from our brand. And it's going to have the taste notes peanut butter cup, because I can tell you, I actually asked Lowry, if we have to magic a coffee out of nowhere, what is the taste note that's going to sell fastest? And that's it. Some of you might say that peanut butter would not be considered a specialty coffee taste note. So we could say an almond butter cup, just to work around that. And finally, the one other point that actually came up, I was chatting to Rowan Sorrell from Naked Wines, and a really key point he mentioned was price, which seems obvious. Actually, we weren't talking about price being low, we're talking about price being high. People feel reassured by the value of the coffee being at the correct level. And jumping back to that ethics slide, that's what should enable you to be able to go out and buy great coffee from great people, and have a reassuringly high price for that coffee, reassuringly high for your ethics, reassuringly high for your quality. And if it's at the right level, you can probably go back to that trust piece on the first slide and guarantee that you're going to be able to give someone a refund if they don't enjoy that coffee. Thanks. I guess if there's one thing I was hoping everybody would take away from this, it's kind of that the perspective of the final customer is massively impacted by everything we do in the middle. So there's a bit of a delay in it, but if we start talking about something here today, 5-10 years down the line, that's what the market's going to be demanding. It's growing rapidly, and actually you can really begin to impact that by having the right conversations and talking about that with your customers and with everybody else in the industry and the relevant media outlets. But I guess, any questions? I would say, sorry, the question was, is the ethical part of the business more important than the price for the customer? I think right now, if you are running a coffee business and you can't show the ethical element, you'll be sacrificing an enormous part of your potential market. Yes, in any industry you can go in low and mop up a significant volume of business. But I think the reality is, if your ambition is to be a world-leading company, and at Pact, our mission is to, I can't remember what the actual mission is, but our mission is to change the world. We want to go out and we want to change coffee producers' lives all over the world by introducing consumers to differentiated quality coffee. For us, that's our message front and center, and the customers we work with trust that. And that forms an enormous part of our ability to be a subscription coffee company. Oh, sorry, we are out of time. I can come and talk to you in a minute. I'll go over there, and if anyone wants to chat, I'm happy to have a chat. But thank you all.